Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Heilman and Haver in the Mix. We're back at the beautiful Bay Street Bistro in downtown Port Orchard, Washington with another special episode, this time for Mother's Day, and also honoring Audrey Hepburn, whose birthday is today,
Yes.
with a special drink dedicated to one of her first major motion picture, Roman Holiday from 1953.
And the drink is the Roman Holiday.
That's right.
So we're going to talk about the film in a little bit. We're going to go upstairs to the VIP room, but we're going to do the drink here behind the bar. And again, thanks to the folks at the Bay Street Bistro for letting us kind of use their real estate for a little bit here.
Yeah.
It's been great. So yeah, the Roman Holiday is an Italian drink. It's got Campari, it's got Amaro, it's got Cold Brew coffee, it's got Demerara syrup, add some pineapple juice, a little bit of salt, and some lime, and you've got your Roman Holiday. Now we're gonna change things up a little bit. We don't have Cold Brew coffee, but we do have Cold Brew coffee liqueur, Mr. Black's Cold Brew coffee liqueur, which I like. It's a little less sweet than other coffee liqueurs that you're gonna find out there. So I much prefer that, and it's pretty versatile. But yeah, let's get started with this. We'll start with the Amaro, which is interesting ingredient. Amaro is kind of an herbal liqueur from Italy. There are some, I think there's a Czechoslovakian one. There's even one that I found that was made in Oregon as well. But really what it is, it's herbs, leaves, citrus, kind of soaked in alcohol, mixed with sugary water, and kind of distilled down into this herbal liqueur. And there's 6 or 7 different ones at least, depending on the region. In Italy, you're going to find it. This one is Amaro Averna Siciliano. There's a bunch of other ones. There's Maletti, any number you can find on the web. But this one is anise, citrus, juniper, myrtle, and rosemary and sage. So
Something you're not going to find at every grocery store, though.
yeah, exactly. But so we're going to start with this. So we're going to put.
And where did you locate this?
I got this at Total Wine.
Silverdale, Washington.
Yep, Silverdale, Washington. So, and they had a bunch of different kinds over there as well. Some of the other liquor stores have a little less, of a supply. So if there's anyone in particular you're looking for, call ahead. But if you just want to try a few different kinds, and it's not that expensive. Probably about $20 some odd a bottle.
And if there's something obscure you can't find, just email us at heilmanandhaver@gmail.com or message us on Facebook. This sleuth will track it down for you.
Absolutely.
The booze sleuth.
All right, so we're putting our Amaro in there, and then we're moving. And Amaro's interesting because Amaro is an aperitif. No, is it digestive? I'm sorry. Get the Campari in a second, which is the aperitif. The digestive, which you drink after dinner to help aid in digestion, versus something like Campari, which is an aperitif, which is to kind of stimulate your appetite. So you drink the aperitif before dinner, you drink your digestive after dinner, and we just talked about this before. What do you drink during dinner? Probably wine.
Probably wine. Yeah, if you're when in Rome, right?
Yep. So we're going to use about a half of. I'm doubling this up. So since it's the two of us here.
I love the color of the Campari.
Yeah, that's great. And most Negronis are made with Campari and vermouth and
Another pre-code type cocktail.
Yep.
Stuff we've been talking a lot about lately.
So moving to the cold brew, so we're going to do a couple ounces of this, kind of give it that coffee flavor. So the nice thing about the digestive and the aperitif, the digestive is a little sweeter, the aperitif's a little more bitter. So they hoping they work together.
Counteract. Have you tried one of these before?
I have not.
All right.
I have not. I try to for these drinks try to save the testing them until the actual
the reaction.
show. Yeah, the
If our eyes get really wide and we don't swallow all that, or swallow really quickly, it's probably a little bitter.
Yeah. So it calls for Demerara syrup, which is a simple syrup with Demerara sugar. So it's a little more of a toasty flavor than your typical simple syrup. So that's going to add a little sweetness. And then we're going to get to the juice part of this, some pineapple juice. And then we're going to grab a couple of limes, and one thing better than lime juice is fresh squeezed lime juice. So
Wouldn't you love to have this kind of bar space at home?
oh my goodness, this is a fantastic bar. Sometime we need to sit down and kind of go through the with Brady, the owner, and and kind of talk about the bar a little bit. There's not a single nail in it.
All right.
It's all pegs.
Yeah, it's a work of art.
Yeah.
And this is the new half of the Bay Street Bistro. It used to be just one side, and they expanded. Actually, it was, I believe, last year they started the project, and yeah, all new bar, redid this whole side, and it's just really great place to come and have a drink, have dinner.
Yep.
Sundays is obviously a great time with their Sunday suppers, and be celebrating Mother's Day. They'll have the Roman holiday ready for you if you want to come down. That's the 9th. Don't forget, it's Mother's Day.
Pinch of sea salt.
Interesting. It seems like each ingredient is kind of a hail to Italy.
Yeah. Oh,
A little
it is
coffee,
definitely
a
an
little
Italian
Campari,
drink, yeah.
yeah, a little salt.
All right,
lime.
so I've got everything in here. I'm going to do the shake. All right.
Save my hearing.
So, straight into our rock splashers here. I think I got a little something in the...
Yeah, a little pineapple juice maybe, it's okay. Ooh, cool color.
All right.
Lots of froth on top
All right,
there.
let's garnish with our cinnamon sticks.
See that color?
There we go.
All right. Yeah, cheers to Roman holiday.
And Audrey Hepburn.
Wow. That is delicious.
Yeah, and you can taste everything.
Yeah, you can.
You can taste the coffee. You can taste...
It reminds me of a bitter dark chocolate. So
Yeah.
that is delicious. Might have to have 2 of these.
That can be arranged.
We'll see if we can remember our trivia.
Yeah.
Coming up in the VIP room.
All right.
And welcome back to Heilman Haver in the Mix. Our episode in honor of Roman holiday, starring Audrey Hepburn, whose birthday is actually today. Today is May 4th, and we're celebrating Audrey Hepburn's birthday today. And her first feature film, Roman Holiday, 1953, starring her and Gregory Peck.
And not her first. So she came from Broadway.
Yes.
Like, they waited for her to do this film until she finished her run as Gigi on Broadway.
Right. And then she quickly returned to Broadway and became one of the first women to win an Oscar for Roman Holiday and a Tony Award in the same year, which is, I think, only one other woman has done that. Well, we'll get to that in a few minutes. But we're back at the Bay Street Bistro, like we chatted about earlier. You saw us at the bar a few minutes ago, and here we are up in their VIP room that you can rent for festivities, get-togethers. We're still in Phase 3 here in Kitsap County, so you can still get a few people together. Yeah, fingers crossed for now. But we're enjoying the Roman Holiday cocktail. I can honestly say this is probably one of my top drinks that we've made. Really well done.
It's a super complex drink.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts down there.
I love the coffee taste. It's not strong, but it's there. It's like a coffee ice cream. You know, you kind of get that coffee.
It reminds me of dark chocolate, and I think it's the cinnamon. But it reminds me of there's a type of candy bar, and it's a kind of a cayenne pepper dark chocolate, and it's kind of what it puts me in mind of. It's got a little bit of bite, maybe, and it's a little salty.
Yeah.
But you're right. You can kind of taste each one of the ingredients independently.
Yeah.
Really, really delicious.
It would be interesting, and we mentioned Amaro before, and all the different varieties of Amaro. It would be interesting to try this with a couple of different kinds, and see what those do to the taste profile.
Well, I'm sold. So this is the Roman Holiday, and we'll have the ingredients and the recipe for the drink in the show notes. And as Greg said, there's quite a few moving parts. So if you need to go back and watch the beginning of the video again, go for it, and please share with a friend. Greg works really hard on these cocktails, and it's really fun because they tie into each one of our themes. And with Mother's Day coming up this weekend, again, the 9th of May, don't forget, boys and girls, Mother's Day.
I have a string around your finger.
Yeah, do something. Don't have too many of these because you will forget. But bring Mom down to the Bay Street Bistro, and they got an excellent meal prepared, menu designed for Mother's Day specifically, and they'll be featuring the Roman Holiday as well. So come on down, try it, and it's a great place. I think it's a real gem here in Port Orchard in the Puget Sound region.
It really is. It's a step up from casual. I'd say it's a casual atmosphere, but there's no screens, you know, and you're inclined to when you come in. It's got that sort of atmosphere that makes you want to put your phone away.
Yeah, and the owner's regularly here.
Yeah.
You can talk to him. He'll tell you the story behind that beautiful bar downstairs. Beautiful, one whole wall is windows right out onto Bay Street, and it's a beautiful evening tonight. So it's a great place to come down, and they're open 7 days a week. So you don't have to wait till Sundays. But Sundays are their Sunday supper events, and they do a lot of themes. And this week it's Roman holiday. What mom doesn't love Audrey Hepburn?
Who
doesn't
love Audrey Hepburn?
The great thing about this film is, again, it was her first feature film, and she won an Oscar for it. So, I mean, straight out of the gate, she was a star. And there was multiple Oscars for this film. Best Actress in a Leading Role for Audrey, obviously. Best Costume Design for a black and white film for Edith Head. And Best Writing for a motion picture story. Dalton Trumbo, yes. We're going to say it, Dalton Trumbo, because a lot of people didn't for a lot of years. In fact, Dalton Trumbo, who was one of the Hollywood 10, blacklisted as communists, did not receive credit for this Academy Award or for his work until 1992.
Yeah.
So, and he'd passed by then. Again, if you would like, we're all about movie recommendations here. Go out and watch Trumbo with Bryan Cranston. Incredibly insightful movie. Again, it's based on his. It's biographical. Take anything you see with a grain of salt, but there's quite a bit of truth in that film, and not a fun time to be labeled a communist in Hollywood.
No, and I thought, and I'm drawing a blank on the movie name, and it's really frustrating, but it's Robert Redford and Barbra Streisand. What the heck film was? And they dealt with the Blacklist.
The Blacklist, yeah.
And trying to kind of navigate their way through that, to be involved in, the politics versus try to stay under the radar. It was a really troubling time. I just can't imagine. And people like Trumbo just really bore the brunt of it.
Yep.
Held as kind of examples of this whole anti-communist movement. Manufactured really as it was.
Yeah, I'd like to find an author or another Hollywood historian. Maybe we'll get Jeremy Arnold on to talk about Trumbo, because it's a pretty uncomfortable story what this guy went through, and to go all those years without any credit, even after winning an Academy Award, just for having let's just say a liberal bent in your politics, is pretty scary, and that's one generation ago. So on this show,
cancel culture is nothing new.
That's right. Exactly. But his friend Ian McKellen Hunter was good enough to front for him and accepted the award. He did some minor work on the script as well, but he was good enough to pass on the $50,000, I guess, fee or payment that Dalton Trumbo received for the work. So the funny thing is Ian McKellen Hunter's son would not let go of the Oscar when they gave it to Trumbo. So they actually had. This is one of the only times there's been 2 Oscars made for one award.
Well, speaking of Oscars, Audrey Hepburn for a little while lost her Oscar.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
She was so overwhelmed actually at winning the Oscar for the film. She took the wrong route to the stage. She gave just a completely out of breath speech, and then she left the trophy in the ladies' room and got out to the steps to do her interviews and goes, oh, and had to run back in and retrieve it. Thankfully, Oscar was still standing there. But she was and Oscar were reunited, and everybody lived happily ever after. But of course, Gregory Peck was a big star by this point, and significantly older. He was 37 when the film was made, and he said that after they finished the filming, he told the producers that since Audrey Hepburn was obviously going to get an Oscar for this film, he was clairvoyant. He could see it happening. He said, "You'd better put her name above the title," and they did. And she won.
Yeah, and here's a guy who in his contract had a sole billing clause in there. So to make sure that her name was put there prominently, I think is a big deal.
It was. In fact, during the documentary A Conversation with Gregory Peck, who was filmed in 2000, he told the audience that watching Audrey Hepburn in her first starring film role was like watching a flower suddenly come to bloom, and that she was born to play that princess. And I'd have to agree with her. Or to agree with Peck on that. It is a really it's a fun, happy movie, and she's such a lovable character
Yeah, and what presence on the screen. And it's such a small package, a tiny, tiny girl.
Yeah, she was very very petite, but yeah, definitely a presence on
Yeah.
stage. And to go up against Gregory Peck, the man who would play Captain Nemo, and he no slouch.
Yeah.
And physically much larger as
Yeah.
well, and to just hold her own. And it's a fun movie. And Gregory Peck was looking forward to doing comedy. He felt he was getting a little bit typecast in some of these dark roles, so he was looking forward to. And it's a very lighthearted, lighthearted film. Again, like we mentioned before, later that year, after winning the Oscar, Audrey Hepburn won a Tony for her performance in Ondine on Broadway. Making her one of only 2 actresses in history to win the Oscar and Tony in the same year. And we mentioned Ellen Burstyn is the other. She won the Oscar for Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore in 1974 and the Tony for Same Time Next Year, that same year. So this was actually the first American film in history to be made entirely in Italy. So 53, so 8 years after World War II. And it was so hot. It was, I guess, in the 90s the entire time, and there was some political unrest in Italy at the time. There was some labor strikes. It was not an easy film to make.
No, for sure.
And you were telling me earlier that the only reason that it was filmed in black and white was why?
To save money.
To save Paramount was cheap.
Paramount was cheap. So yeah, because we were talking, and we had our. Spoke with Perry King this week on our podcast.
Yeah, tune in Friday the 7th. Yeah.
More on that a little bit later, but talked to him about black and white films and films that are purposely made in black and white for artistic reasons, and that this one just because they were cheap.
Well, and it was interesting because I read enough about this to find contradicting viewpoints on the black and white thing. There was a few reports that said it was because the director, and I want to find his name here, William Wyler, he refused to make it in the studio. He refused to make it in the United States. He wanted to go to Italy, and he filmed it in black and white because he didn't want the stars to be detracted from by the beautiful Italian scenery. I think that's probably what he told people after Paramount said, The beautiful thing about having the budget cut was that they had to hire an unknown actress. And Audrey Hepburn was an unknown actress at this time. So worked out well for everybody, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So again, director William Wyler, he refused to film in the U.S., insisted that it was shot on location, and that led to both the black and white and Audrey. So going back to the Blacklist, one of the reasons why Wyler, strangely enough, was so anxious to film in Europe was because he wanted to put distance between himself and the House Un-American Activities Committee. Because it was threatening to embroil him in all this political brouhaha because of his liberal stance on things and his politics. So, and again, another part of the Blacklist, Frank Capra, notable director in his own right already at that point. He passed because he was concerned about dealing with subject matter that had been written by Dalton Trumbo. He didn't want to touch it, and there was some budget issues as well. But
that was there was. Part of that time, there was a huge guilt by association play,
and people were turning on their friends and turning on their colleagues, and it was not a fun time to be of questionable politics back then, and even John Wayne, I think, got into the mix and all that too. It's kind of a mess, but and of course, when you think Audrey, we always think Cary Grant. And Gregory Peck's role was actually written with Cary Grant in mind, but by this time, Cary Grant was significantly older than Audrey Hepburn. He thought it'd be a little bit weird. But he did. He waited 10 years until they'd both aged a bit and to make a charade. Sorry, yeah.
Which is one of my
mind for a second. Yeah, we were talking about it on Facebook today, talking about our favorite Audrey Hepburn movies. Yeah, charade. 1963.
Yep.
So, and he did play her love interest in that. So I guess they'd aged into the same bracket.
Don't worry about the suit; it's a drip dry.
That's right. Yeah. Another film that's really a lot of really beautiful visuals, a lot of countryside shots, a lot of villas, things like that. And I think Audrey Hepburn just is suited for that type of environment in her films. And of course, Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn became fast friends, and Grant considered her one of his favorite actresses to work with. He didn't make a lot of movies after Charade. I think it was maybe 3 more.
Yeah.
So they didn't make a lot together, but he made, I believe, 4 with Katharine Hepburn. And don't you have a story about the Hepburns?
Yes. So this is an interesting
They're
one.
not related, right?
No,
They're
no,
not related.
Not
okay.
related.
Yeah.
But interesting story. This is one of my favorites. After Roman Holiday, Audrey Hepburn was cast in Sabrina. And many also know Sabrina from the Harrison Ford remake, however many years later, but we don't have to talk about that.
The original with Bogey.
And then there's a Harrison Ford tie-in to our guest this week. You have to stay tuned.
One more reason, to tune into the Perry King interview on Friday the 7th.
So Billy Wilder, director of Sabrina, told Audrey Hepburn to head over to France to this famous designer, Givenchy, to pick out some dresses for the movie. So Givenchy gets word of this, and being a huge Hepburn fan, finding out that Miss Hepburn is coming to his shop, he's just delighted. He's a huge fan. He knows that having Hepburn come into his shop and buy dresses is going to increase his business and all this other stuff. However, wrong Hepburn. Audrey Hepburn walks into the store, and he looks at her and looks at this petite, girl. It's not what he expected. He expected Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah, right.
So he initially refused to do the work. He turned her away and said, "I don't have time for this. I don't have the staff to do it." But eventually, the two of them went out to dinner. They developed a relationship which lasted a great friendship for 30 years. You're talking about the Grant Hepburn relationship.
Yeah.
This is another relationship that she had that lasted 30 years, and it started out kind of cantankerously, just based on a misunderstanding. But I could just imagine him, this French designer, watching Audrey Hepburn walk in and just being floored because it was the wrong Hepburn.
That's right. Bring me Katharine.
Yeah.
Who are you? Well, and another kind of a cool story about Roman Holiday. Gregory Peck showed up on site. He was a little depressed because he was getting a divorce, but he ended up actually meeting an Italian woman while he was there making a Roman Holiday, and they were married the rest of his life. So it was pretty cool.
And I believe Audrey Hepburn met her first husband at a cocktail party at Gregory Peck's house.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yep.
I bet you Gregory Peck could throw some cocktail parties. So we've said all this to say we've got a couple of great shows coming up on the podcast. We've got Perry King, who shares a story about the hour that he spent with Katharine Hepburn back in his youth. Perry's coming up on May 7th. That's this Friday. And then May 14th, we've got Scott Eyman, the best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author of many books about the Hollywood elite. And his newest book, Cary Grant, A Brilliant Disguise, is what we're going to be discussing on the 14th. I'm really looking forward to that one. Cary Grant, often misunderstood. And Archibald MacLeish, correct? Archibald Leach.
Leach, yes.
Archibald Leach. Cary Grant. And Cary Grant even admitted that he's not even as cool as Cary Grant. So we're going to untangle Cary Grant with Scott Eyman, and that's next week. But this week, make sure to turn into our interview with Perry King, longtime actor, director. His film The Divide screened at the Cannes Film Festival in 2018. And he's got some great stories about John Wayne, stories about Katharine Hepburn.
The hardest part with the interview, I think, and this is on you, to edit it down into a digestible amount of time, because we were literally talking to him for over 2 hours.
Yes.
And he is just such a wealth of knowledge, wealth of experience.
Studied at Juilliard, went to Yale, studied with Stella Adler, John Houseman worked with Orson Welles, and just worked with Shirley MacLaine. Just a ton of old Hollywood. For a guy who came into his own in the 70s, he was a wealth of knowledge about classic Hollywood and shared a ton of really digestible, I think, advice on acting from people who know.
Yeah.
We'll just say that, people who know.
Yep.
Stories about Spielberg and working with Mark Hamill. The guy's done it all. So, and now he's a cowboy, retired on his ranch up in Sacramento.
Ranch? Yeah, Sacramento.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And we even talked a little bit about motorcycle and car racing with him.
Yeah.
So all you guys tune in. So anyway, that's coming up on Friday the 7th, and then the week following is going to be Scott Eyman talk more about Cary Grant. So, and this is the Roman Holiday. Make sure to come down on, let's see, I got to do all these dates. May 9th, Sunday, May 9th. Mother's Day. All right, everybody got it? All right, don't forget. We've done our part.
What's coming out this weekend? Oh,
Something on Sunday.
Yeah.
Come on down to the Bay Street Bistro. You can email them for reservations at baystreetbistro.com. You can give them a call. We'll have the notes or the number in the show notes. And I would get reservations early. Come down and spoil Mom a little bit. Have a Roman holiday. You're really gonna enjoy this, and it's very sweet, very delicious. So I think Mom will too. Well, cheers to Mom. Cheers to Audrey Hepburn.
And cheers to you. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.